welcome to the Metro during our Fall On Air fundraiser here at WDET. I'm Tia Graham here with Robin Vincent, who's about to bring you another great thought-provoking conversation. Robin, I wanted to go back to the conversation that we're going to continue on, but when Angel talked about restorative justice, and she talked about Detroit being a blueprint and being a space and a place for things to help other places. I think about local farming and how that's a blueprint for other urban farming, and how that's a blueprint for other cities across the country. And I think about this restorative justice project as well, and how it can help others across the country. And Detroit's primed and perfect to be the blueprint to show other places what it is to be just free and happy in a space, knowing that you're protected by all the community, not just one place or one aspect, but you're protected by all of it. And I love that Angel brought this conversation to us. And I love that, Robin, you've brought this conversation to the Metro today.
Thank you, Tia. I mean, this does speak more broadly to a lot of the work that you've been doing, which is showing how Detroit is a city of innovators.
Yes.
And that's why you listen to WDET, because you crave that innovation. You crave knowing about the people in your neighborhood and your community who are at the forefront, who are doing things that are brave, that are inspiring. And now is the time to support WDET so we can continue to shine a strong spotlight on those efforts. Go to WDET.org right now, or open up the WDET mobile app, or you can give us a call, 800-959-9338.
And the work we do on the Metro, it is made possible by our sustaining members. So become a sustaining member. Give it $10.19 a month, or even $20 a month, or $50 a month. Or if you can become a Leadership Circle member, you can donate at $100 a month. That really helps us go a long way. It extends that news coverage, and it extends who gets to listen to that news coverage. So our goal is $1,000 this hour. We're inching away towards that goal. So thank you for those who've given already. And if you have never given to WDET, you've been listening for years, donate right now, 800-959-9338. Use the mobile app or WDET.org/give.
And if you're just tuning in, Tia and I have been talking about a conversation that we just had with Angel McKissick, who leads the Keith Center for Civil Rights at Wayne State. We were discussing restorative justice. That is, the circles and community practices that build, repair, and accountability. Now we're going to turn to Asandi Connor, who's been doing this work for a long time in a different but connected way. She directs the Detroit Equity Action Lab, or DEAL, at the Keith Center for Civil Rights. Through DEAL's fellowship, she trains and supports leaders across Detroit to bring equity into the very institutions where it's often resisted: schools, health systems, nonprofits, the arts. Her work shows us that disrupting systems doesn't always happen through protest in the streets. It also happens from within, through strategy, persistence, and leadership that changes how organizations operate day to day. And in this moment, when the political space for DEI is narrowing, that kind of work feels more urgent. And this is why we're bringing you these voices, Angel McKissick's and now Asandi Connor, because they show some of the ways Detroiters are reimagining what justice can look like. And this is what WDET is here for: thoughtful conversations that connect you to your community. We can only keep them accessible with your support. So give now at WDET.org. Asandi, welcome to the program.
Good morning, and thank you. I'm excited to be here.
We're excited to have you. And I realize you've been doing racial equity work for many years. And right now, as I've mentioned and we've been discussing, DEI programs are being rolled back nationally and questioned here in Michigan. What does that climate feel like for the leaders and institutions you're working with?
I would say that it's a very unique and odd space to be in. So in some ways, we are moving and operating with this uncertainty that is looming, regardless of if you're in higher education, a nonprofit, or in the corporate space. So the uncertainty about how leadership of an organization may or may not choose to act. So that's difficult. The frequent changes in the executive orders and the threats that are coming out of D.C. are also creating anxiety and stress for many of our leaders. And yet we also find this deep resolve and commitment to dig in, to say no, like not on our watch, not on our watch. We are committed to racial equity, and we will not waver. We will not recede. We will not surrender.
This work has always taken courage, but now would you say that courage is laced with, you mentioned the word anxiety. I wonder about fear too, and the need to compartmentalize right now.
Absolutely. I was recently having a conversation with someone about this duality of the space that we're in. So we know that the work must continue. And I believe that this moment, this year, is showing us and giving us another opportunity to do something different and get it right, to figure it out in a way that we haven't been able to in decades and centuries in the past. So yes, there's fear, but I also believe that fear allows opportunity for growth, and you got to do it anyway. And we are risk takers. Many racial equity leaders are willing to take risk. This work is not easy. It's complicated. It's often messy because you're talking about people and emotions and lives. But it's what many of us feel called to do. So there's no choice. It's not an option.
The Detroit Equity Action Lab, of which you are the director, has a fellowship that's trained hundreds of leaders since 2014. But when you talk about things that are a calling, this is not just a program. It's a way of seeding change inside Detroit's institutions. It's about being subversive. Paint a picture for us. What happens in that fellowship? Who comes into the room? And why is building that kind of leadership pipeline so urgent right now?
One of the things that I love about DEAL and our Racial Equity Fellowship is that it is multiracial and multi-generational. And we love that. We have seen magic and beautiful moments happen as a result of the youth and the wisdom that are in the room and what happens when they are sharing their lived experience and engaging with each other. So because it is multiracial and multi-generational, our youngest fellow has been 18. Our eldest fellow has been 81. So you can imagine the stories and the sharing that takes place. So our goal of the fellowship really is about equipping leaders with the tools to disrupt racism, regardless of whether that's in their communities, in their organizations, and oftentimes within their families. So it is multifaceted and multi-layered. And I would say with our curriculum, we gather the fellows for 1 year. It is a 1-year free program. They meet every month in monthly sessions. It is hybrid. Most of the sessions are in person, but some of the sessions are virtual. And we have a curriculum that we walk them through that really starts from the personal. So it's about who are you? We are a human-centered fellowship program. Who are you as an individual in this work? So we want to know about who you are, who your people are, where you come from, what's your ancestry. And so we also bring them into the space not with their titles. We don't start with your title, your organization, your education. None of that matters to us. We are equal. It is a level playing field in that space.
And you have removed the requirement at one time a person applying for this needed to have a college degree. Is that right?
So that was a previous program that I led. This program has no requirements. You just have to be a minimum age of 18, and your work must touch the city of Detroit. So it can also be regional, but you must have an impact in Detroit. We are a place-based organization.
You've guided fellows who work across sectors from education to healthcare to the arts. I know some of those fellows have been on this show. Can you share an example of how a fellow has shifted their institution from the inside in ways that might not make headlines, but that have real impact.
Yeah, I'll uplift two of our fellows from earlier cohorts. One is Shamil Dobbs, who was in Deal 1. She is the co-CEO of what we know as MCR, but which is Michigan Community Resources. And while I want to be clear that Shamil and the other fellow that I'll uplift, they came to the fellowship already brilliant. Like they showed up that way. And so what we were able to do was just add to their capacity. And so in the instance of Shamil, she was transitioning into becoming the leader of her organization while she was in the Deal Fellowship. And we were able to just kind of stoke the fire that she already had. And one of the things that a few years ago that she has done under her leadership with some other partners in the sector is to create this Rest and Liberation Initiative that is rooted in Black joy and possibility. So, like, imagine that for the nonprofit sector. That is revolutionary.
I was just going to use the word, that sounds revolutionary.
It's revolutionary. We have another fellow, Patrice Brown, who, when she was in the fellowship, was at Eastern Market. She's now the Associate Director of Urban Ag for the city of Detroit.
We just talked to her maybe a week ago on
the
show.
We're all connected here. Detroit is a big city, small town.
That's right.
And while she was at Eastern Market, she was constantly frequently engaged either during the fellowship and post-fellowship with the fellowship staff around thinking about how to infuse equity at the market. And one example of that was her desire to do a racial equity audit of the organization. So it shows up in different ways for different organizations. And some organizations are further along their racial equity journey than others. And it also depends on the positionality of our fellows. But they, in their unique way and approach, they get it in the organization.
These are examples of how the real disruption can happen within institutions themselves, not just through protest and lawsuits or legislation, all of which are potent actions. But why do you see that as such a powerful form of change, of the disruption that can happen within an institution?
Well, first, as I said, we believe it starts with the person. Starts with the individuals. And we've been fortunate to have what we identify as legacy organizations. So organizations who have sent individuals to go through our fellowship program, like a different leader several times. And so that also says to us, it's a testimonial of the impact that we have, and that hopefully an organization is open to and really committed to at least going down the path and exploring racial equity within their organization. So what we find is that we give the fellows the tools, and they, because they are intimately familiar with their organization, they know the best way to approach it. They also sometimes may have different allies or co-conspirators within that organization that can help. We have also had conversations with our fellows' organizations, if that is appropriate, and we're invited to do that, to also kind of help move the needle. But the reality is organizations are also systems, and systems that, particularly in the nonprofit sector, were not built with racial equity in mind. They're not grounded or rooted in that. So the disruption for some can be more challenging and take longer than others, but it is necessary.
I mean, you're talking about carefully, gently, kind of blowing up the system from within.
Yes, absolutely.
Looking ahead, and we could keep going. I wish that we could, but we're running out of time here. So my last question for you is, what outcomes would you hope to point to a year from now as evidence that Detroit's racial equity ecosystem is moving forward, even as the space for DEI is narrowing?
Wow. Okay. My hope is, one, that we see that there's evidence of a commitment, and evidence of a commitment that is beyond language. I think really quickly, I think back to 2020 and all of the statements that were made.
After the murder of George Floyd.
Absolutely. And we also saw the receding of that. And so what I want to see is, I think evidence of that will be not just the statements, but the actions. What are the actions? What are the investments from philanthropy as an example? What are our nonprofits, our political leaders? What are the actions that they are taking? You can look at whether it's laws or amendments, like what is happening and what is evidence of a commitment? Because it's not just deal, it's a collective effort. And we believe in co-liberation. So if I'm not free, you're not free, Tia's not free, we're all in this together. So if we don't view that, if we don't see it, then our progress is going to be 2 steps forward, 5 steps back.
Mic drop there for Asandi Connor, director of the Detroit Equity Action Lab at the Keith Center for Civil Rights at Wayne State Law. Thank you so much for joining me on the Metro.
My absolute pleasure.
That's just one of the many conversations, powerful, enlightening, inspiring, that help us to think in new and different ways that you hear on the Metro, because you are craving that. Those conversations that help you to think differently or help to inspire you. Now is the time to give. WDET.org.
And Robin, hard to follow up a conversation like that because my mind, like we talked about, is just really, really on overdrive right now, just trying to just get that all through my mind and process that. But we do need $500 more this hour, and that's just 2 people who can join at $25 a month. We know we can get there. We want to say thank you to Paul once again out of Clinton Township, Kathleen, as well as Benjamin and Alicia for your generous donations. And we want to continue to spread the knowledge and the wealth of knowledge that you're getting from WDET and the Metro, like you just heard from Robin Vincent. An amazing conversation with Asani Connor as well. I mean, honestly, I just learned so much listening to the Metro this morning. So if you want to continue to listen to some of the thought-provoking conversations that you're getting from the Metro, from Robin Vincent, from Sam Corey, from David Lyons, from Carrie
Tia
Jr.
Graham.
II. I was going to shout myself out. Don't worry. Don't worry, Robin. It was coming. You thought I was going to leave myself out of that.
Oh, no, I knew you wouldn't do that.
I love my team and every person on this team, the Metro team, that brings these type of conversations to the airwaves. And I also enjoy that I get to bring conversations as well, talking about the things that are happening in the city of Detroit and Metro Detroit, but really some of the great things that are happening right now. So if you listen to the Metro, which we know you do, we hope you do, donate right now at WDET.org/give. 800-959-9338 is the phone number. A human being will be on the other side of that to answer it. And just thinking about the conversations that we bring you here on the Metro every single day, I think about the arts and culture that we bring as well. And we're going to have renowned Detroit muralist Sydney James joining the show to talk a little bit more about Blackout Walls Murals Festival and talking about the event that's happening tomorrow at Spirit Plaza. So you definitely want to stay tuned to that so you can learn what's happening around your community. This is WDET-FM, Detroit Public Radio, your connection to news, music, and conversation. And this is the Metro. Stay right with us. Don't forget to donate, WDET.org/give.